No longer am I talking about backward compatible games. This time we are going into a game that has actually been updated for next gen, Dirt 5. So Dirt 5 is a racing game from Codemasters. They have upgraded it for the next gen hardware, specifically for Xbox Series X.
Because I'm experiencing great action, I'm experiencing great visuals, and because I'm always playing in 120 FPS modes, I'm experiencing great frame rates.
So Microsoft and Codemasters sent me this game this past week, and I finally had a chance to, try a next-gen game. And my overall takeaway is right in line with my expectations. The barrier to creating a really good-looking game is no longer the hardware that you're running it on.
The feeling of responsiveness of the car, how it responds to the environment as it bumps along.
We have hit a point of extreme diminishing returns in terms of visuals. This game looks a lot like the games we were playing on Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro, and I don't think that's going to change much.
When you're sliding, when you're turning the camera, when you're making adjustments, everything feels so much smoother.
So when it comes to the kinds of games we're going to get on these consoles, for the most part, they're going to look a lot like what they have been looking like, because that barrier was also the barrier on last gen, and it's not going away. Dirt 5 at 120 hertz on the Series X is smooth, and I think that this kind of brings us to the idea of the magic of consoles that just work. But that's not really what I mean when I say it just works. What actually is impressive is that Dirt 5 on the Series X at 120 hertz really does just stay at a locked 120 frames per second. Almost locked.
One of the things that we're doing with that is that in Dirt 5,
I flipped a switch and then it just went 120 hertz solid. Now, I'm sure it's doing dynamic resolution. I'm sure it's doing, it's definitely turning down the graphical quality. I'm sure it's like lowering the overall average resolution. But that's not what I didn't really notice that stuff.
So much coming at me at once, as well as my fingers expressing that world. I'm feeling so brought into what Dirt 5 is.
What I noticed is the smooth frame rate and just how consistent that frame rate was. You can feel that in the gameplay.
So one of the most significant things in the game that we're very proud of, that's exclusive to next generation consoles, is our 120 hertz mode. Typically games run at 60 frames per second, 60 hertz.
If you're someone who just wants to take maximum advantage, of their 2160p 120 hertz HDMI 2.1 TV that you just spent a lot of money on, and you have the option of connecting a PC to it or an Xbox Series X to it, just to get the most out of that TV in the least amount of time. To me, I think the Xbox Series X is a no-brainer in that situation.
And to feel the world how we want you to feel it. So when you're bumping up against things, because of the power of what I'm experiencing in PlayStation 5.
It is, like, at least for now. Maybe in a few years, maybe PCs will move so far beyond what these consoles are even doing.
To say how hard and how soft you want it, and how much do you want it.
That, okay, well, you're going to get a much better frame rate or whatever with those PCs, maybe. But for now, though, no, I would just stick with the console.
You're going to hear the music coming out of the speakers that are in the world. And then when you're using a headset on the DualSense controller,
that's going to do it for me.